I would say one of the grand challenges is that often clients are writing their brief to an agency based on a sometimes complex mix of stakeholders and approval processes. And when you've got four or five different groups that may not sit together having an opinion about what a project is supposed to accomplish, it's really difficult to get to that singular linear brief that people want. And so often you end up with multiple objectives or objectives that aren't connected to metrics. And so you need to have a conversation of identifying kind of the North Star of the overall thing. But a lot of that comes down to what is the actual business challenge or problem that your client has. And where we run into trouble, I think, especially in advertising, is we have a tendency to be a hammer looking for nails. There are a lot of agencies out there that would prefer every single brief to say, this is about awareness and affinity. And so all I want you to do is make people know us and like us. And so just make the coolest thing you want to make. And the budget is $10 million. And that does happen, but not very often. More often than not, the actual problem is kind of hiding behind the ask. You'll get an ask that's saying, like, we need to do a national TV campaign. And then when you come back and kind of say, okay, great, national TV campaign. So we're going to assume your objective is greater awareness. And there may be some key things you want your audience to take away to drive, actions down the road. Like, no. We want to see a 20% increase in income per store month over month. And I'm like, oh, okay, then wow, let's go all the way back to that. Because clearly if that's the outcome you want, then your objective actually needs to be increase traffic in store, increase of awareness of a new offering, or maybe you're launching a new product. But sometimes we have a tendency to put the solution before the problem. And then we just make assumptions that that's going to be okay. And it can get really messy. So identifying the problem in a way that everyone is comfortable and can say it in a sentence is normally where I start to find that connection there. And then I just try to make sure the brief makes sense as a story. Like whether it be the client brief or the agency brief, what you want is a document that basically clearly states, like, we go from A to B to C to D, and they're all connected and they make sense. You've got an objective and a consumer problem and an insight and a key message and proof points and KPIs, and they all match with each other. They all make sense as a story of, because of this, we're going to do this. We need to keep in mind this. We're going to tell them this. It's going to make them do this. They'll believe us for this reason. And then everyone's happy. But a surprising number of briefs cannot pass that very simple test.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in your career, you've seen or even yourself put together something very well intentionally and then have someone point out that you have written an awareness brief with conversion KPIs. Or you've written a brief for a TV commercial, but what you want to accomplish is deeper in-store relationships, so people sign up for a loyalty program. And it's a confusing system. There's lots of nuance and lots of speed bumps, and very often you're trying to do three things at once. But if you can align on what the actual problem is, it's a lot easier to determine whether or not what you're doing is going to help with the problem.
Yeah. I've spent, as you know, I spent most of my career on the client side of the business until most recently, about 5 years ago. And it is actually very common for you to, as a client, write a brief, especially if you're a junior, assistant marketing manager or something like that, where you actually don't know how to articulate what you're trying to achieve, right? You just have to, you have this on your marketing calendar and you need to brief your agency and you have an idea of what you want, and off you go, and the agency's like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? And that's tough. Then you, as an assistant marketing manager, in the early days, you're like, whoa, okay, I need to now think like a business owner. What is that I'm trying to accomplish?